Farmall M, 1939 to 1954. There are some sounds that we will never forget: the steady roar of the engine at dawn, the soft grinding of the iron wheels on the damp ground, and a red shadow in the morning dew. That is the Farmall M, born in 1939, associated with the golden harvest seasons of America in the 40s. When the war was still far away, and farmers in the Midwest were still plowing and hoeing the land their ancestors left behind, the Farmall M was a loyal friend, tireless, uncomplaining. Manufactured by International Harvester in Chicago, Illinois, the Farmall M quickly became a new milestone in the medium-duty tractor line. When it was first introduced, it cost only about $1,000, a big investment, but worth every penny. Over the course of 15 years, more than 270,000 were sold, covering fields from Ohio to Iowa in red. Today, if the machine is still in good condition, the price can be from $3,000 to $6,000, depending on how good the engine is. People often say, if you go through Indiana in the 50s, you will see more Farmall M than horse-drawn carriages. It is not by chance. The Farmall M is famous for its strong pulling power, durability, easy repair, and especially very easy to drive compared to previous models. My neighbor in Missouri, Uncle Ray, said that in the harvest season of 1951, his M worked almost 14 hours a day, plowing deep for a whole month without missing a beat. Four-cylinder gasoline engine, capacity about 38 to 40 horsepower. Started by hand at first, later added an electric starter, started quite smoothly, not difficult. The transmission has 5 forward gears, 1 reverse gear, simple lever, shifting gears quite smoothly. With PTO, power output shaft, and hydraulic lift system, it can pull lawn mowers, manure spreaders, and trailers, enough for a 50-acre farm. Weighing more than 2 tons, the rear wheels are large, and grip the ground well even when the fields are wet. Spare parts are still available today, and many workshops in the South also accept restoration. So for a 50-acre farm, the Farmall M fits like an old glove. Strong enough to pull, light enough to save fuel. Older people? Don't worry, just learn to start the engine once, and the rest is a matter of memory. If you want to buy a used machine, listen to the engine, check the PTO shaft, and ask if the machine is eating oil. As for the ugly shell or peeling paint, that's just a superficial matter. Currently, there are still people using the Farmall M to clear snow, do garden work, or simply keep it as part of the family. The Farmall M was more than a machine, it was the lifelong friend of the American farmer. Some kept it until retirement, others passed it down to their sons as a dowry. I remember spring mornings when my father would adjust the spark plugs and wipe the seat with an old cotton towel. The way he looked at the machine, as if he were thanking a friend who had spent his whole life plowing. Have you ever driven a Farmall M? Tell me about your first favorite tractor. Who knows, maybe we were all in the same harvest season. Allis-Chalmers D19, 1961 to 1964. There are afternoons when you just want to sit quietly by the wooden fence, sip cold coffee, listen to the wind blowing through the fields, and remember the warm, steady sound of the engine like a heartbeat. That is the sound of the Allis-Chalmers D19, born in 1961, when America was transforming after the war, but the countryside still required a simple and durable power. In those early 60s, the American countryside was changing. People needed a machine that was not only powerful, but also patient like the person driving it. Allis-Chalmers, headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is a name that is deeply engraved in the hearts of American farmers. The D19 series was born to replace the previous models, with significantly improved power. In just 3 short years, more than 10,000 D19s were produced, mostly diesel versions. At that time, the price was around $4,700, which was quite high, but worth it if you ask anyone who drove it. Nowadays, depending on the originality and condition of the machine, the price is around $2,500 to $7,000. It is still an attractive investment for collectors. The D19 is most prominent in the Plains region, where the land is wide, the wind is strong and the harvest waits for no one. People choose it because of its strong pulling ability, stable running and easy repair. I remember a farm owner named Bill in Kansas. He once said, "My D19 has never left me for 20 years." That harvest season, it was the D19 that helped him pull the irrigation tank through the storm and flood, saving the corn crop that was in full bloom. The 6-cylinder diesel engine, about 66 horsepower, outstanding for that time. The machine is easy to start, especially in the cold season. It has a built-in air heater. 8-speed forward, 2-speed reverse transmission, manual, shifts quite sweetly. Live PTO and hydraulic system support equipment well, deep plowing, spraying, tilling or spreading fertilizer, enough for a 50-acre farm. Weight over 3 tons, large tires, good traction design even in wet soil. Although spare parts are not very popular today, they can still be found at antique tractor groups or second-hand markets in the Midwest. With an area of 50 acres, D19 is not too strong, not too weak. Just enough to do all the work without swallowing too much fuel. Older people? If you used to drive a machine before the 70s, you will find D19 friendly like an old wooden chair, sturdy, easy to sit, simple controls. If you want to buy it back, pay attention to the clutch, PTO shaft and hydraulic oil system. You should ask the seller about the maintenance schedule, and if possible, listen to the engine when idling. You will know if it still has power. There are still people using D19, especially on family farms, where the machine not only plows the land but also retains the time when their ancestors worked. The D19 is not the noisiest machine, nor the fastest, but like an old friend, it quietly sticks together, working hard every day, without asking, without complaining. When I was a child, my father used to let me sit on the oil tank cap, holding the seat tightly, while he slowly drove the D19 through each row of corn. The sound of the engine at that time, to me, was no different from the sound of a lullaby in the afternoon fields. Have you ever driven an Allis-Chalmers D19? Tell me about the first tractor you loved the most. Maybe we all remember the same crop year, who knows? John Deere 4440, 1978 to 1982. Sometimes, just a glimpse of a green streak at the end of a field brings back a whole era of youth. The John Deere 4440, introduced in 1978, was not just a tractor, it was a symbol of a new era in America. As the fields of the Midwest began to expand, and farmers entered the modern era, the 4440 appeared, quietly but firmly, like the man who drove it every morning. Manufactured at the Waterloo, Iowa plant, the John Deere 4440 was one of the most successful models of the Iron Horses line. In just 4 years, more than 50,000 units rolled across the United States. When it first left the factory, the price of the machine was about $30,000, a large number at that time, but it came with advanced technology and absolute reliability. Today, if it's in good condition, it can fetch anywhere from $20,000 to $45,000, depending on the hours and maintenance. The John Deere 4440 is most popular in Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, where cornfields follow soybean fields every year, and the weather is never pleasant. People love the 4440 because it's durable, powerful, comfortable, and one of the first machines to have an enclosed cab with air conditioning, something that previous generations could never dream of. My cousin Roy, who lives near Des Moines, once said that the winter of 1980 was bitterly cold, but thanks to the enclosed cab of the 4440, he plowed snow all morning without getting cut by the wind. It's like driving a car, but a farmer's car, he laughed. The 6-cylinder diesel engine, with about 130 horsepower, enough to pull any equipment for a medium-sized farm. Power shift or quad-range transmission, 16 forward gears, 6 reverse gears, smooth shifting, easy to drive, no fatigue. Powerful PTO, strong hydraulic lift system, harrowing, spreading fertilizer, cutting grass, spraying pesticides, all can be done. Weight about 5 tons, large wheels, excellent grip even in wet conditions. Spare parts are still easy to find today, both new and restored parts from long-standing John Deere dealers. For a 50-acre farm, the 4440 is not only enough but also has more than enough power. The machine runs smoothly, shifts easily, and the closed cockpit helps the elderly not get tired when driving for a long time. If you are looking to buy a used machine, check the hour meter, the condition of the transmission and PTO. Listening to the engine will also tell a lot. A good machine, a steady sound and no vibration. Currently, many farms still use the 4440 for real work, not just for display. There are machines that have run for more than 10,000 hours, but still refuse to retire. The John Deere 4440 is the image of a loyal generation, both maintaining the spirit of the farmer and being ready to step into the modern era. It is not too fussy, but every line is as solid as a father's hand. I clearly remember the first time my father let me sit on the steering wheel of the 4440. He only said one sentence: "This machine does not need to be ridden, it is a companion." Have you ever driven a John Deere 4440? Tell me about the first tractor that you loved the most. Who knows, it may have plowed the same furrow as mine at the end of the Iowa field years ago. Ford 5000, 1965 to 1976. There was a sound that got into my blood, not music, but the sound of a Ford engine roaring steadily on the edge of a field in the early autumn sunlight. The Ford 5000, born in 1965, was the machine that plowed corn rows and cleared lawns with many families during the best years of their lives. In those 60s, the Midwest still smelled of straw, the dirt roads had not yet been paved, and the tractors did not have enclosed cabs. But the Ford 5000 was enough to replace the horse in my grandfather's memory. The Ford Motor Company, a manufacturer famous not only for cars but also for tractors, launched the 5000 series in Michigan, USA, and continued production in the UK and Europe. The 5000 quickly became the trump card in the mid-range segment, with nearly 500,000 units sold worldwide. When it first came out, it cost between $4,500 and $6,000, a price that was affordable for farmers who wanted to switch from an old machine to a more modern one. Today, an old Ford 5000 costs between $2,000 and $6,000, depending on whether the engine is original or not, and whether the transmission is still sweet. From Pennsylvania to Texas, you can see the silhouette of a 5000 painted blue, covered in mud and sun dust, like an indispensable part of the field. It is famous for being cheap, easy to repair, easy to find spare parts, and especially durable, strong, running all season without complaining. Uncle Walt on the farm across the hill once said, "This Ford is like my wife, not flashy, but durable." For more than 15 years, he used it to plow corn, pull grass, spread fertilizer, without missing a single day of work. Four-cylinder diesel engine, about 69 horsepower. Easy to start, even in the cold early morning. It is not difficult for those who are used to it. 8-speed forward, 2-speed reverse, manual operation, not complicated, very easy to use. Has an independent PTO, hydraulic system enough to pull a 3-blade plow, a sprayer, or a trailer containing fertilizer. A 50-acre farm? More than enough. Weight about 2.8 tons, big wheels, high chassis, can go in wet fields without getting muddy, and can go in dry grass without slipping. There are still many spare parts, thanks to the large group of Ford vintage machine players, from the US to Europe. If you own 50 acres of land, this 5000 is enough to help you plow, plant, transport, spray, all in one. For the elderly? Countless farmers over 60 years old have driven this car for decades. Light steering wheel, simple gear lever, smooth engine, no reason to hesitate. Buy a used machine? Check the engine for oil, PTO, and transmission. If the engine is still original, drive with confidence. Today, there are still thousands of people using real Ford 5000s, not just for display, but for daily tillage, mowing, and hauling. The Ford 5000 is not a luxury machine, but it is a lifelong friend of those who live close to the land. It does not count on work, just add oil and hit the road. I remember that on weekend afternoons, my father often adjusted the engine, cleaned the filter, and sat on the rear wheel smoking a cigarette, watching the sunset fall over the bean field. The shadow of my father and the tractor, printed on the ground, was like a picture I will never forget. Have you ever driven a Ford 5000? Tell me about the first tractor you loved the most. Who knows, We might go through a harvest season in our memories. Massey Ferguson 165, 1965 to 1975. There were early mornings, when the dew was still on the grass and the sun had not yet risen. We heard somewhere the deep sound of a tractor in the middle of the field, a sound that has followed us throughout our lives. If you lived through the 60s, you will surely not forget the name Massey Ferguson 165, launched in 1965, neat, strong, and red as a fire in the middle of the plowing season. At that time, the American countryside was still peaceful. People still greeted each other with a nod and a small smile. In that scene, the MF-165 quietly accompanied, like a family member. Massey Ferguson, a brand from Canada and England, conquered the hearts of American farmers with its practicality and durability. The 165 model was part of the 100 series, a resounding success from Europe to North America. The price was around $4,200 at the time, and over 98,000 were produced within 10 years. The MF-165 appeared densely on the fields of Ohio, Kentucky, and gradually spread south. Today, a good MF-165 can be sold for between $2,500 and $5,500, depending on the original and maintenance. Because it is simple and effective. No color, no fuss, just a real tractor, easy to drive, easy to fix, and tireless. In Arkansas, my uncle Mr. Jake used the MF-165 for nearly 20 years. One winter, after a big snowfall, all the roads were jammed. Only his Massey still regularly pulled supplies for the neighborhood. Everyone was grateful, and forever remembered the image of the red machine bent over the white snow. Perkins diesel 4-cylinder engine, about 58 horsepower. Durable, easy to start, fuel efficient, just like start it up and go. The gearbox has a standard 6-speed forward, 2-speed reverse, or a 12-speed multi-power. The gear lever is easy to control, not confusing even for the elderly. Has an independent PTO, a strong hydraulic lift system, pulling a tiller, spreading fertilizer, cutting grass, pulling a trailer is all good. With a 50-acre farm, it is strong enough to work from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Weighs about 2.6 tons, large wheels, grips the ground firmly. Does not slip, does not bury the wheels easily like lighter types. Spare parts? Still available, many garages restore, and the MF-165 community is quite large in the US. 50-acre farm? The MF-165 is strong enough, economical, and does not cause fatigue when driving for a long time. For the elderly? The machine is low, easy to climb up and down, the steering wheel is light. If you are familiar with it, it only takes one step to start. Buy it back? Check the PTO shaft, the gearbox for jamming, the engine for smoke. The original machine should be prioritized, the less modified the better. Today, the MF-165 is still used on small and medium-sized farms, not for show but for real, like many years ago. The Massey Ferguson 165 is not a flashy machine. But like an old friend, always there when you need it. I remember when I was a kid, sitting on the oil drum at the back of the bike, holding onto the saddle, while my father sat in front. The MF-165 just kept running through the rice fields in full bloom. Sparrows flew out of the grass, the sky was blue, and I knew it was a beautiful day. Have you ever driven a Massey Ferguson 165? Tell me about the first tractor you loved the most. Because sometimes, it was the one that planted in our hearts a lifelong love for the land.